What's up, Warrior Nation? Welcome back to the Warrior Rewind, where we take time to visit with members of the Valley Christian athletics community, past and present. Once a warrior, always a warrior. This is your host, Rob Fair, VC class of 2009, assistant athletic director, and Warrior football and lacrosse coach. I encourage you to connect with me on Twitter at RobFair3 or email me at rfair@vcs.net to nominate a new guest that you'd like to hear from. You can find the Warrior Rewind just about anywhere podcasts live, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Now let's get to work. Kevin Parizi graduated from Valley Christian in 2008. During his time as a student at VC, he was a record-setting member of our swim team. In 2008, Kevin was a member of the WCAL record-breaking 200 medley relay team, where he swam the backstroke leg of the medley. However, in 2008, he was also a member of the CCS Championship winning 200 medley relay, as well as the 400 free relay team. In total, he achieved 13 All-American swim times. Kevin would go on to swim at UC Davis, where his team won the Big West Conference Championship. Kevin competed in the Junior Nationals in 2006, 2007, and 2008, and swam at the U.S. Open in 2008 and 2009. He has since hung up his swimsuit and has swapped it for a whistle, as most Warriors will recognize Kevin as Coach Kevin, a title he's held at Valley Christian for nearly 10 years. A longtime assistant coach for the Warriors swimming and diving program, Kevin took the reins as head coach in 2015 and took over as Valley Christian's Director of Aquatic Operations in 2017, following in the footsteps of longtime head coach Cathy Manthey. Kevin has coached swimmers that broke WCAL records, have won CCS championships, and have qualified for junior nationals. His swimmers have had opportunities to go on to compete at the college level for schools like Loyola Marymount, the University of Minnesota, San Jose State, Cal Baptist, UC Santa Barbara, and many more. Coach Kevin, thanks for coming on the Warrior Rewind.
Yeah, not a problem at all. It's fun to be here. It's exciting to do something other than sit in my house during this shelter in place.
You know it. Coach Kevin, first question for you. What is your fondest memory of your time as a student athlete, as a swimmer?
So just kind of being able to compete at the highest level throughout my life, starting maybe my freshman year of high school, where I got to compete head to head with some of the most world-renowned athletes at the time, like Michael Phelps and Aaron Pearsall and Ian Crocker, and literally get to race in the lane next to what they were racing in. And as a freshman, you were kind of scared, kind of nervous, little shy, didn't know how to do it. But once you got in the pool, it was just like, it was all natural. So it was some of the fondest memories were definitely being able to race those guys and feeling like they were just like a regular human being, a normal athlete. And kind of putting myself in that position definitely helped push my goals a lot higher and gave me something to strive for.
That's so cool. So you were in the pool at the same time as Michael Phelps?
Yeah, literally in the lane next to him. So if you watch the Olympics, there's usually 8 guys in a lane. Michael Phelps will always be in the middle lane because he's the fastest. But a couple of meets I got to swim against these athletes, and one or two of the meets I got to swim in the lane, race in the lane next to him.
Wow.
He beat me by a lot, that's for sure. I mean, once he got in the water, he was like a fish. He just took right off. It was amazing. And within the first half a lap, he was gone.
Very awesome. At Valley Christian, you have the opportunity to be a leader in what has become one of our coolest outreach programs. Talk to me a little bit about the Splish-Splash program at Valley Christian.
So our Splish-Splash program was probably, I think it's our 6th or 7th year in the making. It's an outreach program for our community near Valley Christian, and it's for some of our low-income families that can't afford swim lessons, because swimming's an expensive sport. It costs a lot of money to put your kids in swim lessons, but it's one of the most important things. I believe every single child should learn how to swim. Um, there's a lot of drowning that happens every single year, and a lot of these low income families are at risk because they just can't afford regular swim lessons. So what we've done is created a program where these families that can't afford to pay these regular prices, which would usually cost about $150, $175 a week. We're charging them $25 for 2 weeks of swim lessons. And they come in, we put them in the pool. By the end of the 2 weeks, a lot of them know how to float or at least swim or save their life if they're in that situation. We also take them into the classroom and teach them about God and Jesus and how to grow their faith. And a lot of these kids, by the end of the week, accept Jesus into their heart, which is one of the coolest things that you could see. And we have about 80 to 160 kids. Well, we have two different sessions, and each session probably has about 80 kids in it. So I would say by the end of our 4 week sessions, we have about 160 kids that commit themselves to Jesus Christ, and they learn how to swim at the same time for just $25.
Saving saving lives literally and saving lives eternally as well. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to be a part of this program. I look forward to it every year. It's crazy because these kids, they get so attached to you. They don't want to leave the pool. They love swimming so much, and they love hearing about Jesus so much but on the last day, we give them a graduation ceremony, and a lot of them come up and hug every coach, and they're crying. They don't want to leave. And sometimes our program ends about 2:00, and on our last day, they don't leave the pool until about 3:30 because they just want to stick around and just hang out at the pool and talk to each other.
That's super cool. I love it. It's really one of the coolest things for you and I to be able to be staff members at Valley Christian, where we get to go on this quest for excellence every day. And the quest for excellence takes so many different forms, right? A well-known motto at Valley Christian. So a question I have for you is, what does excellence mean to you?
So I think excellence it's striving to be the best person you can be, academically or athletically or spiritually, and not taking any shortcuts, doing it the right way, always trying to be the best person that you can be every single day so you can be a light to others and help others achieve their goals. I mean, as a coach now, that's kind of my passion, and trying to get others to get on that quest for excellence and to grow both in and out of the classroom, whether it's in their academics or just as a human being. I went to Valley Christian for 7 years. I started in junior high, and it's something I've always pushed myself to do, and try to be the best person that I can be every single day.
Being at Valley Christian junior high and high school, you certainly have been around, and now as an employee of the school, you certainly can define yourself as a warrior. But my question is this: one is what does being a warrior mean to you? And two, what's your favorite memory from your time at Valley Christian?
So I think being a warrior, again, is that quest for excellence that I just spoke of, and being the best person in and out of the classroom that you can be every day. And I think, it's how we represent ourselves, and how we can shine a light on Jesus's name for others, how we can do the things that we want to do, but in his name, so others can get that light for themselves. And I think that's what we strive for at the pool, especially the swim team. When we go to any swim meets, we always have this big cheer at the beginning of every single swim meet. We spell out warrior, we yell warrior as loud as we can, and then we go right into prayer. And we do that in front of hundreds of people. And I think being able to be out there and show others the light of Jesus is really what being a warrior is all about for me.
What is your favorite memory from your time at Valley Christian, either as a student athlete or now as a coach?
Gosh, that's a hard one, because there's so many memories. But if I were to go back and have to pick one, and I'm sure my coach Cathy Manthey at the time would definitely attest to this, it would be that one dual meet that we had. And, it wasn't a championship meet. It wasn't CCS. It wasn't state championships. It was just a regular old dual meet in season. And there's a team in our league that has won CCS for 33 years straight. That means they won their league meets for 33 years straight and hadn't lost a dual meet in 30 something years. And we came within 7 points of beating that team at a dual meet. It came down to the very last relay. And for those that don't know much about swimming, there's about 34 different events in a dual meet. Each event can have anywhere between 6 points if you win it to 0 points if you lose it. There's usually 6 people in every event. And so every single swimmer matters. Every single swimmer that day on that dual meet stepped up and did their job, and it wasn't just our star athletes that were stepping up and winning. It was our guys that were getting 3rd and 4th place, our new swimmers that had joined the team that year. And, everyone had a single goal and everybody wanted the same outcome. And it was just amazing how the entire team came together that day. And the little points that were scored, those 4th places and those 5th places, made the huge difference. Of course, we had the star-studded talent, but the impact of those swimmers filling in the gaps and stepping up into swims they had never done before was just, it was amazing to see how a team could come together that day. And, we had no place that year of beating this team. There was no reason why we should have beaten that team, but just the team that day, it's like all the stars were aligned. And it was really cool to see how a team could band together like that and almost take down a team that had been winning for 34 something years straight.
Wow.
So 7 points away is literally, the difference between a 4th place finish and a 5th place finish. It was so close.
Well, yeah, because swim meets they're usually, the scores are in the hundreds, right? So 7 points is that's splitting hairs.
Yeah, the final score ended up being 150 to 143 or something like that.
Wow.
And so it came down to the very last relay, like I said, and usually you go to a swim meet and there's craziness. There's people walking around everywhere. There's a couple people in the stands, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. But on that last relay, the entire perimeter of the pool was surrounded by people standing and watching that relay. And I've never seen anything like that before at a regular dual meet. It felt like state championships. It felt like junior nationals.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. That's really a special memory. You talked a little bit earlier on about, just being at home and shelter in place and COVID-19, all this kind of stuff. And obviously, I coach lacrosse, and our season was obviously significantly impacted. You as our head swimming and diving coach, your season was significantly impacted. Athletes are sitting at home right now, which brings me to this kind of a unique hypothetical question. Not everybody that's listening, certainly not all of the student athletes we have the opportunity to coach, are going to grow up to be like us, where they're going to continue coaching the sports that they love. Some of them are going to go off and do other things. So in a hypothetical world right now, as you're sitting at home thinking about going off and doing other things, what would you do if sports went away completely? How do you see your life shaping out from there?
Well, that's another really tough question, because that's kind of something that I've done all my life. It's like the only thing I know is sports and swimming. I've I was put in a pool as a 2-year-old and joined a year-round swim team as a 7-year-old and never stopped. Always been a part of swimming my entire life. So it's hard to try to think about what I would do. But one of my hobbies that I like to do, most people probably don't know this. A lot of my swimmers would be surprised if they heard. Food, cooking. I love cooking. I love eating. I love food. It's one thing I look forward to every single day. I love going to restaurants and trying new things or finding that new restaurant that just opened up. So if I didn't have sports, if I couldn't coach, if I couldn't train athletes, I would probably open up a restaurant. I love being around food. I love trying new things, and I love experimenting in the kitchen, especially during this shelter in place, because not a lot of restaurants are open, can't go anywhere, can't do much of that anymore. And if you are getting takeout, it is kind of risky because you don't know who's been touching your food. So this entire, what has it been, almost 36 days or something, I've been able to cook every single day, and every single day has been an experiment in the kitchen, and it's gotten even better since then. And it's luckily my family gets to try a lot of the things that I make, and definitely would be a part of the food industry because it's my other passion in life beyond the pool. And I think swimming had a lot to do with that. You swim so much, you get so hungry, and a lot of the times when you're swimming in a pool, it can get pretty monotonous, and the only thing that keeps you going is food.
So fun. Very cool. Well, back to reality a little bit here. What compliment stands out as the best that you've ever received?
Probably a former swimmer of mine. I coached a girl for 7 years. I luckily got to start coaching this girl when she was in 6th grade, and got to see her grow up through her entire high school rather. As I started coaching, that was probably one of the first groups that I got to coach, was her group. And as she moved into high school, I was put in a higher position where I got to coach high school athletes. So I kind of got to stick with her through her high school years, which is, you usually don't coach the same person for 7 years. So we have this kind of special bond. She went off to college to swim at D1 University and finished her collegiate career there and got a real life job. The best compliment that I've ever received was her coming back and telling me that the struggles and challenges she faced in practice every day prepared her for what she's facing in the real world. And I took that as a compliment to my coaching and the impact that I can make in every athlete in the program. Her ability to come to me and say, hey, what you did for me prepared me for real life. That was really special to me. It made me feel like what I was doing was real. It made me want to keep coaching even longer, if not forever. Because I love making an impact in athletes' lives, and especially in the long term, because really that's what we're all about. You can only swim and compete for so long. It's about preparing for the real world. And when somebody came and told me that what we were doing actually worked, it was probably one of the best compliments that I've gotten in a long time.
It's so true that as coaches, we relish competition, and we enjoy being a part of programs and teams. But perhaps the biggest motivation for me and for a lot of the coaches that I talk to is that we try to instill values that are going to last way beyond the time they spend in the pool, or the time that they spend on the field, or the time that they spend on the court. If our goal was only to churn out D1 athletes, well, we're only like 10% successful at that. So we wouldn't be very good at our jobs. Yeah. Because the reality is it's not. We're hoping that we can put our athletes on a path to grow up to become better people, better men, better women of Christ in the community. So, and they don't see it right away typically. And so to get that student athlete to come back and share those words with you, I'm sure is super cool. So thank you for sharing. Kevin, what is something, this is kind of a fun one, because I think a lot of times student athletes can look at, especially coaches, and think that, well, that person is is good at everything and they never make mistakes and all this kind of stuff. That can be what we present sometimes, but the reality is we're not good at everything. So the question I have for you is, what's something that you're not very good at, and how do you adjust, or how do you compensate to alleviate that weakness a little bit?
So kind of funny. I'm not good at public speaking or conversation, or at least I see it that way. And I think it's something that I've always thought was one of my weaknesses is especially being in public and giving public speeches. I compensate by putting myself in those situations that can make me better at it, like coaching. As a coach, I'm constantly speaking in front of a ton of people, whether it's at practice, whether it's at a swim meet, even award ceremonies. You're speaking in front of hundreds of people, and I think working on your weaknesses is something everybody needs to do. So I strive to work on my weaknesses. It's something I've always been told growing up, whether it's in school or in the pool, and just working on your weaknesses will make your strengths even better. So I consider myself a shy individual in high school, but with the goal to be a coach and a mentor, I knew I always had to work on what I was afraid of. So I put myself in those positions to, even if I didn't like it, if I was shy or I felt awkward, I put myself in the middle of those situations so I could work on that weakness and work on speaking and communicating to others. As a swimmer, you don't get to communicate with others. You put your face in the water, and the only communicating you do is blowing bubbles to other people. So there's not much conversation in the middle of practice. So if you can imagine 2.5 hours of swimming, where it's all you hear is splashing, but I strive to get better at it. And so I always put myself in a situation where it forced me to, get over this weakness that I thought I had. And, I think still to this day, I'm trying to get better at it, trying to be better at public speaking, especially. One of the hardest things that I do every single year that I get nervous of is our awards banquet at the end of the season, where I have to, especially as a head coach, I present all the awards and I give this big speech in front of not just all the swimmers, but in front of all the parents. And we have about 110 athletes on the swim team, which means 220 parents come to the awards banquet. Just a lot of people in one room, and it's pretty nerve-wracking. So I have a lot of respect for the people that can do that naturally, like the principals during chapel or anything like that. It's amazing what some of these people can do in front of huge groups of people. So it's something I always want to get better at every single day.
Yeah. So, and swim, probably other than track and field, our swim and dive program is the biggest on campus. And so you definitely have the biggest audience to talk to when it comes to those team breakouts. So
Yep.
I hear you.
Yep.
there.
And I feel like over the last 10 years of coaching, I've gotten a little better at it every day. Every year is that banquet just gets a little bit more cohesive. It flows a little bit better, not a lot of awkward pauses anymore. So one of my goals is to always work on my weaknesses, always improve those weaknesses, and your strengths will get better from that. And something I've always believed. Even in the pool, I always relate it to swimming. People want to work on their best stroke all the time. Usually people have one best stroke, and I tell them you got to work on your weak stroke. You have to work on that weak stroke, the thing that you don't like, and it's going to make that best stroke even better. You're going to improve even farther by taking your mind off of it for a second and working on a weakness. It challenges you more, and it's going to push you even farther. So I strongly believe work on your weaknesses.
That's great advice. Obviously that advice that obviously has implications that are beyond just swimming. If you are able to work on your, quote unquote, weak stroke everywhere in life, it puts us back on that quest for excellence where we're striving to get better and better every day. Kevin, if I were to ask you who the 3 most inspirational people in your life are, what 3 people would you choose, and why would you choose them? And of course, the disclaimer is, I'm sure there are more than 3 people, but hopefully those other people that aren't in the top 3 don't take offense to this, because it's hard to measure the value. Just the first 3 people who come to mind.
So the first person would be my mother. Her challenges through her life. She went to school. She went to college when I was probably 3 years old. She went back to school to get another degree. So for her to be able to raise me as a child and complete 4 years at a University of Alabama, top-rate university, and I'm sure it was very challenging for her to be able to balance that. Most people can have a hard time balancing that alone, without anything, without sports or even a child. But to be able to do that, or to, move around the country like we have. I mean, I lived in a couple of different places as a young kid before I came to California. And just her ability to raise me the way that, to the man that I am now. I think I have a lot of my inspiration comes from her. Just seeing her challenges through her life. She picked a degree that way back when I was a child, that doesn't have much of an impact nowadays. So she had to go back to school probably about 10 years ago to get a nursing degree. And she would wake up at 3:00 in the morning to drive to school, which was an hour and a half away, to work on getting a nursing degree for 4 years. She got that nursing degree, and she found a job at a hospital that was about an hour and 45-minute drive from our house. So she'd wake up at 3:00 in the morning and drive to work, and sometimes work 12-hour shifts. And her ability to always challenge herself and always strive for the best, to strive for that excellence, is something that inspired me as a young kid.
Wow.
Another person I'd pick, probably one of my coaches growing up. Her name was Tori Eubanks. She was my coach probably in junior high, I'd say, probably for 3 years. And those junior high years are really life-forming years. A lot of people kind of are lost in those years. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want to do. They're always trying to follow others or pick the cool thing to do. But her ability to kind of show me the right direction to go and push me in the pool at the same time was really inspirational to me. And seeing how great of a person she was, and the things that she did, and something I definitely got inspired by. The last person I picked was probably another coach. Coaches in my life were always inspirational. Maybe why I coach nowadays, because these people have kind of formed me for who I am. So I picked this last person to be Cathy Manthey. She inspired me in the pool, out of the pool. She really helped grow my faith, and she helped grow me as a professional now. She groomed me for being a coach. She taught me how to be a coach, how to educate swimmers, how to grow their faith, how to be a better human being on the pool deck to inspire others. And so I give a lot of credit to Cathy Manthey for my coaching now. She was such a great person, a human being, and a coach. So I think those, besides all the other people that I'm leaving out, sorry everybody, I'd probably say that those 3 people came to mind first.
Super cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's, I know it's difficult to choose those 3 people, but they all are a special piece of the reason you've become the person you are today. And so just thank you for that insight. My last question, and I think everybody's answered this that's been on the podcast so far, and it's kind of the way I like to end the podcast. And it is with this: if you had the opportunity to hop in a time machine, go back to high school, and visit with high school Kevin Parizi, what would you say to Kevin? And distinctly at 2 different times, Kevin as a young student athlete, freshman, sophomore year, just beginning that journey, And then what would you tell Kevin later in his high school years? Maybe during that CCS Championship run, or during after high school as you're headed off to college. What advice do you have for yourself, but in reality for the young warriors who are listening, that you would and share with yourself?
Oh boy. Well, there's a lot of things I'd love to tell myself, a lot of insights. Where do I start? Probably as a freshman and sophomore, I would have loved to tell myself to focus on others, be as selfless as possible, focusing on making the people around me better and stop worrying about what I think people think of me. I think as a freshman and sophomore, especially, you get put into this huge school where there's a lot of people and you feel like you're constantly being judged, which is not necessarily true. And I think, something you learn as you grow up is, just focus on other people, focus on learning about others, focus on creating relationships, connections with other people. And it'll definitely take that sort of, thought out of your head that people are judging you or thinking, this guy is not the cool guy, or whatever it might be.
Sure.
So I think be as selfless as possible your freshman and sophomore year. Go out of your comfort zone to meet new people and create new relationships, friendships. I think try to meet as many people as you can. Try to make as many friends as you can in your freshman and sophomore year, and be as selfless as possible. As a junior, senior, probably would have told myself to find joy in the little things I do in life. I found swimming as a job sometimes, since I was so serious about my sport and the goals that I had. I really wanted to be a Division I athlete. I really wanted to achieve my scholarship, really wanted to go to one of the highest ranking schools. And so sometimes I found that swimming was a job. It was something I had to do every single day. And it's sort of, you tend to lose passion in what you do because of it being almost mandatory. It becomes something you have to do every single day rather than it just being a hobby. So sometimes I wish I could remind myself or go back and tell myself that, enjoy what you do, enjoy the little things that you do, enjoy the little swim meets that you get to go to, like that dual meet that we had at the story that I told earlier about almost beating this team that had won for 30 something years straight. Enjoy meets like that because they don't come around too often. Yeah. And it's something that you're going to remember years later. Maybe not the state championships or the big junior national meets, but that little dual meet was one of the fondest memories that I had. You tend to think that if you don't go to the biggest university or go to the Olympic trials or compete on a worldwide stage, you tend to think of yourself as failing, because everybody has their dream goal, so I think again, and remember why you started the sports that you started. I got in the pool because I love being in the water, and I didn't get in the pool because I thought I was going to go to the Olympics or compete at the US Open or anything like that. I got in the pool because I love being in the water and I love being with my friends. Remember why you started it in the first place. That's what I'd tell myself as a junior and a senior.
Really, really phenomenal advice that I think any athlete, of course, regardless of sport, can take to heart. So thank you again for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Kevin, before I let you go here, if our listeners are looking for a way to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to check in or follow along with the stuff that you're doing?
Well, I'd always say come to the pool deck at Valley Christian. I'm always there.
Yeah.
I live on that pool deck. The other way is email me, kparizi@vcs.net, kparizi@ymail.com. Last name Parizi. I don't really use social media and nothing like that. So best way to reach out to me is email, or most importantly, come see me on the pool deck. I'm there every single day.
Awesome, Kevin. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you spending some time with me here on the Warrior Rewind. I thank you for letting me borrow you, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences and your insights. I hope that I know that some of the younger warriors out there can take them to heart and find some value in them. Stay safe, and let's hope that we can get that pool up and running this summer.
Oh, hopefully soon. Thanks for having me. You stay safe yourself. I hope to see you soon.
All right, sounds good. See you, Kevin.
All right, bye, Rob.